Hello guys, in today's video we are going to be looking at the 3 new villain units that were released in the Cornerstone banner of the Astrea Record anniversary, the extra story one. So we're going to be looking at the new Alfria, Zard and Erebus and the skills they do and what I think they're going to be used as or where they're going to be used. So if we just jump right into it, we can open up the album and look at the first adventurer unit, which is going to be Alfria. Here we go. So if we max out her stats, she has 2200 magic, which is definitely a good amount of magic. And she has an agility of 1200, which is much higher than what we usually get. And this will come into even more effect when I tell you guys what the skills are. So if we go and look at the skills, her essay is a 50%, ultra light magic attack with 50% per each magic buff. And it also does a nullification for magic attacks, except special art, which is definitely a nice thing in all the magic wargame fights currently at the moment. Then her skill 1 has a self magic and agility buff plus 70%, and this is where the agility comes into play because she is really high on the agility stat, and with this 70% buff she is I think there's no other, I think she's definitely the fastest magic unit right now. So she will go faster than all your other units, so that's a great thing. And skill 1 also gives her additional actions, and those additional actions are similar to what we had in the part 1 of anniversary, where we had Garrett give 75% null, a 75% chance to null the next physical attack coming in. The Alfria has a 75% chance to null the magic attack coming in. Obviously that doesn't include special arts because that would be broken, but even this is pretty good if you do manage to get off an attack with that. So moving on to the second skill, it is a fast mid-light magic attack with temporary magic boost, and allies light attack damage plus 35% is the buff that she applies with it. And then she also has a debuff for the enemies, which is light resistance minus 40%. There seems to be a pattern with the developers putting out units with minus 40% elemental resists. We had physical Elise for 40% fire. Then we had the Finn for wind resistance, and we had the Lyra for earth resistance, and now Alfia for light resistance. So the next few banners might have the other elements, that's what I'm guessing. And also the next Familia Rush will also be one of the elements that's probably not currently, that probably doesn't have the 40% elemental resist down yet. That's my guess and prediction. We'll see if that happens or not. The buff is higher than what Belle has, the Belle with glasses, who has 30% light damage buff. So she can be used, this skill can be used as a sacrificial skill as well. Even if you get just one copy of Alfia, it's a good addition to your teams. So you can get the 35% light damage up, minus 40% light resist. It's actually an amazing sacrificial unit, looking at it. And that's probably the skill she will do first in Wargame. And then, she does skill 1 and then she does skill 2 and probably spams it because it's the higher hitting attack. It is a fast one as well, so it goes even faster than everything else with the high agility, so she's a great unit. And then she also has a single target attack with plus 40% per each self magic buff and a high penetration rate. She is mainly a wargame unit, so I don't know when or if this is going to be in effect, but nevertheless she, I guess, could be used for that as well. Another interesting thing about her is that she has a regular attack when countering instead of a light damage attack, but she has a 50% chance to seal the enemy. And depending on how long this seal is, if it's more than one turn, it could end up being really good because it would prevent the enemy unit from doing another attack afterwards. She also has dark resistance and damage upon penetration. She doesn't have counter rate damage up, and then this ability, obviously magic and agility plus 40%, is what's giving her this much agility, and it's making her really strong. So as for where she's gonna be used, she definitely upgrades the current best wargame team, which is Lightbell, Lyra, Ryu, and I always forget the last one. What's the last one? Well, in any case, she's gonna upgrade that team. Oh yeah, the light Reveria. So yeah, it's probably the best team might be replacing Ryu with this Alfria or some other combination, but she's definitely a huge upgrade for wargame teams. And I have no doubt that the unit will do really great in Wargame with her extra attacks and the skill 2 also being really powerful, so she's worth to go for and maybe invest into. Another adventurer, the other one that we're getting, the other villain of the free, is Zard. He's also a physical unit, despite the fact that he looks like an earth unit if you look at just his art. He has a high strength of almost 2100, and his agility is pretty slow compared to Alfria. He has an assay attack, which is an ultralight physical attack, plus 50% per each strength buff, so pretty much the same as Alfria, but with a strength buff instead of with strength buffs instead of magic attacks, of course. And then he has a foes, physical resistant, magical resist minus 50%. So the buff is definitely nice. I mean the debuff, and it's probably a high hitting skill as well. So nothing bad on the assay. I mean, it's a good assay for sure. The skill 1 is a super light physical attack with 30% taunt, which is the interesting thing about this unit. And then he has plus 2 actions which deal light physical attack. And he heals for 20% of that damage dealt. His skill 2 is a high light physical attack with temporary strength boost and a high penetration rate. And then he buffs his own strength and dexterity for 70% and debuffs the enemy's physical and magical resistance by 30%. We've seen the physical resist and magical resist debuffs on a lot of new units like Thunder Argo, and RD, and yeah, it's pretty common right now. But the strength and dexterity buff are okay at 70%. He doesn't buff his own light damage, so that's something that he is lacking, and he does want to rely on another unit then to give him that light damage buff. And then he also has a skill 3, which is a single target attack that has plus 40% for each strength buff and an ultra critical rate. So he can also do single target attacks, but if we get to his counter, it's also a regular attack, not a light attack, and the attack heals 50% of the damage, so she's more so meant as a kind of tankier unit. I don't really see him being used in any PvE. The two adventurers also don't have any killers, so they're not gonna be good for a familiar rush of some sorts because they don't have any killer. So I see Zard being used in Wargame, especially with his 30% taunt and additional actions, but more so as a part of a stall team, for example, a tankier stall team, where I guess in a fight of stall versus stall, you would be able to hopefully break the enemy stall by taunting some units and forcing them to use other skills. So I guess he would be used there. I don't really see him used in any PvE, as I said, and I can't make a proper prediction whether or not he will end up being used in a composition or not. We'll get to see that in the next wargame that's coming out after this record buster ends, so in a couple of days. So if you're undecided as to if you want to go for him or not, you should wait for that wargame and see if he does end up being used. But that's pretty much all for the Zard. The last unit that we're going to be looking at, however, is the assist. So if I can just find him here, it's Erebus, and the stats he has are pretty weird because of his ability, which we'll look at in a second. So his strength is about 360, magic is 350, and the highest stat is dexterity at 570. They seem to be doing this a lot with some of the recent units for some reason, giving dexterity the best stat out of those. And his ability is light resistance minus 20% for the enemies, and then he has a self strength and magic buff plus 20%. So similarly to Takemikazuchi or Freya, he has that 20% buff for himself. But the problem with this self buff is that the strength and magic are really low compared to something like Takemikazuchi, who has about 650 strength compared to this 360. It's really low, so I don't really see him being used on a main composition unit, so one of the main 4 units, but instead on a sacrificial character for just the light resistance down for your light teams. So I don't think this unit is as great of an assist. He is definitely great with the light resistance debuff, especially if you don't have MLB Apollo, who is a 50% light resistance debuff among other things. Then you should definitely use him in your light compositions, and if you do get him MLB, then it's definitely worth putting that debuff onto your team, onto the enemies. But as I said, I don't see him as being a really strong unit, which is a little bit sad, because he is a really cool character with really cool art and a good voice actor as well, an amazing voice actor as well. It's the same voice actor as Belle, if you guys didn't know. But yeah, that's my thoughts. So Alfria, I think, is the strongest one out of the 3. Erebus is good, but not really anything amazing to like spend your money on or anything of the sorts. I don't recommend you to do that. And then Zard, I can't really tell you guys. I mean, I expect him to be usable, but we won't get to see until the war game properly comes out and people properly use him in team compositions. So that's pretty much it. I hope that gives you some insight as to who you should go for, summon for, and if you should summon the banner. And if you're wondering about summoning on the banner, if you have enough Iris, you should go 10 steps on all of the anniversary banners, because they do have double rates and the units are good. So if you do manage to get someone to a high level armor B, it's definitely a good unit you'll be able to use for quite some time. So that's been it for this video. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and a comment, and you can subscribe to the channel as well, as it helps me. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!